Hello and welcome. This is James Blanchard Cisneros at your service. Today I will be reading the February 12th Facebook post and making a few comments on it, and I trust that it will assist both of us on our journeys. Here we go. Ending the practice of self-judgment. Today we will not judge ourselves for feeling how we feel. Let us instead flow with our feelings, acknowledging that there are highs and lows in everyone's journey. Today, instead of judging our lows and judging ourselves as weak, we will thank our lows and be grateful for them. Grateful that we now have the patience, knowledge, and wisdom to non-judgmentally allow ourselves to feel whatever it is we think we need to feel without self-judgment. Why does the world tell us to judge ourselves as guilty, not good enough, or strong enough when we have these so-called lows? Why do we trust the ego when it demands we judge ourselves for feeling fearful, anxious, sad, depressed? Today, we end this program, Self-Judgment, by choosing to stop listening to the ego's judgment of us. Let us instead be at peace, knowing that there will come a day when we will see how most of our low points were actually birthing some of our highest highs. Let us allow today to be the start of that day, where instead of judging ourselves, we trust ourselves by trusting that there indeed is someone much wiser than us who is guiding our growth and development for the betterment of all mankind. What is judgment and self-judgment? Basically is the idea in the moment that your ego's plan for your life makes more sense, is greater than God's plan for your life. And that is when judgment comes in, where you're not trusting in God's plan for your life, which is your highest will for your life, because you and God have co-created a perfect individualized sacred journey. But the ego has other ideas. The ego has spent a lot of time and energy unprogramming us to support its plan. And judgment is one of its main tools. Judgment is what really fuels the ego's plan, because judgment creates separation. Separation from our brothers and sisters, separation from God, unconscious as that may be. And so the ego can use its tools of anger, resentment, jealousy, anxiety, stress, because it says that if we are experiencing those tools, it wants us to believe that we are therefore not one with God's source. Because if we're anything other than love, which God is, and God is all, if we believed ourselves to be only love, to be traveling the perfect path for us, then there would be no need for judgment. And so that's what the ego does. It needs judgment to survive. Because without us having the need for judgment, we would have no need for the ego. And the ego wants to remain alive as long as it can, because it has invested a lot of time and energy on all of us, starting from childhood. And so the ego has very specific ideas of what is right and wrong. And when we're doing things the ego's way, then it tells us that we're doing things right, that we should be glad about that, and we will not be judged. And so we feel secure because we're doing things the way the ego wants, the way basically society wants, the way our friends, family, or peers want. And when we're doing things that the ego does not like, then it has us feel bad for that. It has us feel like we should feel insecure because if we're doing things unlike the ego, then we will be judged by everybody else. But you see, as we mentioned before, we have co-created this perfect journey with Source. And so whenever we're not quite, or we're using judgment, because God is love, then unconsciously we are separating ourselves from God's plan. And we don't feel right about that. Even if the ego tells us we have every right to feel that way. And so little by little we keep on playing in the ego's game. We keep judging others. We keep judging ourselves. When we judge others, we separate ourselves from them, from God. When we judge ourselves, we separate ourselves from God. When we define ourselves as bad or sad or negative, then the ego tells us, see, you're not one with God, because God is not that, and therefore you cannot be a part of God. And so anytime we're feeling jealousy, resentment, anger, frustration, it's telling us that we're obviously not a part of God, because God is only love. And therefore we start to buy into the ego's idea, ego's plan. But we can only buy into that plan for so long, because that is not our true essence. Every time we use the ego, we feel out of alignment with the truth within us. Every time we feel judgment, no matter how right the ego tells us, it quite does not feel right. And it doesn't feel right because you're not respecting the individualized sacred journey that your brother and sister have co-created with the Source. And when you're using self-judgment, you're not respecting the individualized sacred journey you have created with Source. And so you see your bad times, your sad times, your depressed times, your anxious times, your stressful times, they're all part of your perfect and individualized sacred journey. There's no need to feel good or bad. It's all perfect. Good and bad are simply the idea of the ego in the world of duality that it has created, simply to support its thought system. That's what supports it. The idea that we can actually be apart from God. The idea that our brothers and sisters can actually be apart from God. The idea that our brothers and sisters can be anything other than love. When we use self-judgment, the idea that we can actually be anything other than love. Because we are love, and we came from love. We came from a place of perfect love. Not only were we created by love itself, himself, herself, we came from a place of perfect love. We came here to assist our brothers and sisters, to remind them of that fact. And so we dwelled into the world of duality. And we bought into it. But we bought into it for a specific reason, and for a very blessed reason. To simply remind our brothers and sisters and ourselves that we do not belong here. That we do not belong in the world of duality. And so, for example, let's say you're sad. In the world of duality, in the ego's plan, in the ego's world, it would say that you're weak, you're not strong enough, you're not doing things right. It will put you down for feeling sad. But what you don't see, or what we don't see, is that whatever the ego tells you, it's an illusion. It's not real. And so that sadness is a gift you're gifting yourself. In actuality, it's a gift you're gifting yourself and you're gifting others. Let's say you're sad and you're depressed. Well, you can only be sad and depressed for so long before you start looking for a better way. Start looking for a way that can align you with your true essence, with peace, with joy, with happiness. And so you going through that fog of the ego helps you not only realize that the ego's plan is a lie, it's a deception, but it helps you realize that you want something more, that you want to be aligned with God's source. And so you go through that process of sadness, depression, you learn how to deal with that in a more peaceful, loving manner. And then you help others become victorious over their same issues, their same sadness and depression. Because now you become a teacher. You become a teacher of happiness, of joy, of peace. And your brothers and sisters will actually pay attention to you because you have gone through what they're going through. Same thing with, say, alcoholism or being unhealthy. Alcoholics, the ego's world will put down. It would have you judge others for that. It would have you judge yourself for that. It would have you put you down because you're not following exactly the ego's plan according to it. When in actuality, all you are doing is following the ego's plan because its plan says that you're not one with God. And so when you feel depressed or sad or whatever you feel for being an alcoholic, anger, self-hatred, you're really telling yourself that you are apart from God. But you in truth cannot be apart from God for too long before you start to ask yourself, is there not a better way? And once you experience the ego's game long enough, you start to get tired of it. You start to overcome it. You overcome it. You become a teacher of what God's plan is, which is simply acknowledging that every step on our journey is sacred, that every moment on our journey is a gift that we're gifting ourselves and others. And the more we realize this, the more we align with our true nature, with God's source, with love, with compassion, with forgiveness, with healing, with peace, with joy. And so today, let us not judge ourselves or not use judgment of others, for we have already tried that 1,000 times before. And it has truly gotten us nowhere we truly desire to go. But in some other ways, because in truth, they are a gift. Every single time that we use the ego's programming is a gift. Because it's a step on the ladder. It's a step on the journey to help us realize that we're headed in a dead-end road, to a dead-end road. That this is not truly our path. That there is a better way. And so today we respect our highs, our lows. Those are all definitions of the ego. Highs, lows, definitions of the ego, illusions. Every step is a blessing. And then let us trust that there is someone in our corner, that God's source is in our corner. And let us trust that we have indeed our highest self with God, have co-created a perfect individualized sacred plan, and that we're following that plan. Let us trust that and find peace. And then let us offer gratitude instead of judgment and self-judgment. Because both our brothers and sisters, and even us, ourselves, we're gifting us in every moment, even when we're playing in the ego's game. We're gifting us the opportunity to align with Source, the opportunity to realize the ego's game is not necessary, the opportunity to remember that there is another way, a better way, a more peaceful, joyful way, that there is truly no need for judgment or self-judgment, that that's simply a game of the ego, a tool of the ego, used for separation, used to try to make us believe that we're apart from our brothers and sisters and God. We are not. Once we remember that our brothers and sisters and us are one, and that we are one with God's source, we remember that we are only love. And that our journey is indeed sacred because God's source has co-created it with us. And so once we remember that, what need is there for judgment or self-judgment? There's no more need for that. There's no more need for playing those games. That's just an illusion of the ego. And the more we play in the ego's game, the more we will realize that this is so. And when we do, we have no more need for that. No more need for judgment or self-judgment. No more need to feel sad or depressed, anxious, fearful. Because every step on the journey is perfect. We trust that and find peace. Thank you very much for your time. I love you very much. If you'd be so kind as to like, comment, or share the video, it would help with the listening process, and it might help somebody find this video someday. If you'd like to leave me a comment or a question, I would be delighted to try and offer a response. And if you can please subscribe to my YouTube videos or Google+, I would love to have you in those communities. Again, thank you for your time. I love you very much, and God willing, we will see each other tomorrow. Peace.